Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It's Tuesday, the 23rd of April. Apologies that we're slightly late. Jonny's going to take the heat for this one as his reaction explains. But I'm delighted to say that Jonny joins us on the show this morning. How's it going, Jonny?
Good, mate. Good. Winning today, so very, very happy and looking forward to some Rangers-orientated chat.
Yeah, absolutely. As always, and plenty of comments coming in. We're getting absolute pelters for being late, but we do apologise, folks. Let's crack on. First of all, quick word for the podcast sponsors before I forget. MPH Boilers. They've got some brilliant Viessmann boilers on offer at this moment in time. German engineering can't get much better than that. They've got flexible finance options. They've got first-year service free, and they also threw in a free internet controller as well. The all important links are in the description below. Right, Chris Boyd's been speaking, Jonny, on Cyriel Dessers. Of course, he scored a double against Hearts at Hampden on Sunday to fire Rangers into the Scottish Cup finals. We look forward to that showpiece game against Celtic. He was speaking at his charity golf day yesterday, and quite interesting words that he had to say. This was someone, of course, that you could hang your hat on scoring goals for Rangers. On Cyriel, it says it's a difficult one because in a way you can say he's scoring goals, but then every time you leave a match, every time you pick up a paper or tune into a radio station, all the talk is about the chances he's missed. We're all guilty of it. He scored 2 goals that has taken Rangers to a cup final. He scored important goals already, but I'm going to contradict myself now because you just feel he should have had more. You go back to the Ross County game and had his chance up there. Had it gone in, Rangers would probably have gone on to win that game. He had another opportunity at Hampden to help himself to a hat-trick. I get that you can't score every opportunity, but these are glaring misses we're talking about, big misses. I don't look at Dessers and view him as an out-and-out finisher, but he does have his strengths. He's grown on me from when he first came in. He also talks more about Cyriel in that article. He talks at length about him, saying he isn't a number 9, but he works really hard for the team. Hard to disagree with much of that, Jonny. Oh, how we would love a Chris Boyd up front for Rangers at this moment in time. But what do you make of Cyriel Dessers? I know we spoke about him last week, and he said that he's not for you, but he will contribute. But took his goals really well at the weekend.
Well, I've been very, very critical of Cyriel Dessers. I remain critical of Cyriel Dessers. I don't think he's good enough to be Rangers number 9. But what he did do on the weekend, which has been different to what he's done so far in most of the games that he scored, is he made an acute difference to the scoreline. He scored the key goals that changed the shape and the makeup of that game. So you've got to hand it to him on that regard. He turned up at a big moment. Now, if Cyriel Dessers is to continue to grow as a Rangers player, to become the Rangers player he wants to become, to be worth that £4.5 million that was splashed out on him in the summer, then what he'll have to do is he'll have to continue to show up in these big moments. Because if you look back over the course of the season, he's been found wanting at times when the going has got tough, when the pressure has been on, when it's really needed to count. But credit where credit's due, he did that at the weekend. I thought his first goal, Derek, was magnificent. He showed what lovely feet he has. He's shown that before. He just needs to show it more often. He works hard. He puts himself about. For me, though, Derek, he's just not a natural finisher. You look at the way he strikes the ball. Out of the 19 goals that he scored, how many are really clean finishes? Really cleanly putting his laces through and putting it miles away to the side of the keeper or into the top corner. Very rare. So, listen, I was talking to Josh yesterday about Rangers striker situation. He's a big believer in Danilo. I'm not, based on what I've seen, but I admit that it was early doors. And we hadn't seen an awful lot of him. But for me, I think a good solution for all concerned would be for Cyriel Dessers to move on at the end of the season. I think everyone could look back and say he did a job for the team. There would be no hard feelings, no ill feeling. I think people would look back quite fondly on him because he's given us of his best. And to get 19, 20, 21 goals or whatever he comes up with, then I think he'll be able to say that's a good return. And I don't think Rangers will be too far off getting the money that they paid if they were to move him on. But for me, he's just not good enough to lead the line for Rangers in terms of taking them to a title. I just don't think you're going to do that with Dessers up there.
Lots of comments coming in. Hugster doesn't agree with you. Johnny says, Jesus, who cares if it's a clean finish? Rubbish, Johnny. As long as it's in the back of the net and Dessers is wheeling away in celebration, then that's all we can ask for, I think. Ian Robertson with a valid point. He says, at least Dessers is fit.
That is valid.
Yeah.
He's been very robust.
Yeah. Imagine if he wasn't there fit and available, then Rangers are in deep trouble. And you mentioned Danilo. Interestingly, I think with Rangers reaching that Scottish Cup final, the manager did touch on this in a press conference recently, that he was asked about Oscar Cortez and Danilo, what the situation is. He says it will be back for the final week of the season, and that would be the Scottish Cup final week. Now, they've been out for some time, Johnny, but that would be a boost just having them available for selection heading into that game. I think Oscar Cortez, more than Danilo, I've got to say, I think Rangers have certainly missed him out on that left-hand side.
Yeah, I really like the look of Cortez. I have to say it was a small sample size.
Yeah.
But he was quick. He worked super hard, Derek, which was immediately obvious. Young kids coming from South America, 6 months in Europe. You would imagine that one of the things that you're going to get is a lot of flair, but maybe not a lot of work rate. Well, Cortez showed that that's incorrect when it comes to him. So it's a real shame when he was injured, because I do feel that Clement wanted to use him, wanted to use his pace as part of the weaponry, and would have been an important part of this side. So having him back would be a positive. The only thing, Derek, you've got with 5 games left, 6 games including the cup final now, left to go, they're all huge. You know, you're going to be testing someone's fitness. You want to throw them back in. It's a big question mark. As for Danilo, I think with Roof stays fit and Dessers continuing to perform as he is, and it's clear the manager rates Dessers, rates him a lot higher than I do, I'd be surprised if Danilo gets much more time. I just think he's had a big injury. It might just be thought, why throw him in at this stage? What are you going to get out of him? Maybe he'll get a couple of substitute appearances, Derek. I don't, for example, think Dessers is going to get a subby appearance in the next game and then all of a sudden he's back as the starting number 9 for the rest of the season. I just don't see that. Don't see that at all.
Interesting. Let's get to some more comments now. I'm not in anywhere comparing both of these guys. JD, though, says McCoy's first league tally, 30 games, 8 goals. Second season league tally, 25 games, 12 goals. Dessers hasn't been a disaster in his opinion. Could be more clinical, yes, and might not be here next season. In terms of next season, I would be happy keeping Cyriel Dessers around as a squad player as an option. He is contributing, of course. I don't think he's someone that we should be relying on playing every single minute of every single game. I said the same about Antonio Cholak last season when he came out, I think after the last game of the season against St Mirren, says he's hoping to fight and stay and fight for his place. However, he moved on. I think Cyriel Dessers would want to be playing regular football, Johnny. I think if come the summertime, if Philippe Clement is looking to bring in reinforcements, I'm not entirely sure Dessers may want to be a bit part player.
That's exactly right, Derek. Cyriel Dessers is 29.
Yeah.
So he's not a guy that's going to want to be third in the pecking order or even second. Now, that being said, the one thing I would say that's obvious about Philippe Clement is he loves rotation. He understands that if you're going to play 65 games a season, which is what you're wanting if you're going to have a successful Rangers that are in cup finals, that are going deep in Europe, that are playing, obviously, in a congested league calendar, then I think Philippe Clement is a man who's going to move people around. I don't think he'll have almost like a starting 11. That's the best 11, and we're going to stick with that. I think you'll see a lot of rotation. So if he's one of those two that's rotated around in terms of number 9s, then I think he'd be fine with that, as I think he would have been this season had Danilo been fit. But I don't think there's any doubt Rangers are going to go and get a striker. I'm certain that's going to be the case. So it'll be a lot more competitive for Dessers next season. Now, just on that point that was made regarding McCoist, I mean, McCoist was a young kid, and Dessers, as we've already touched on, is an established professional internationalist in going towards not the end of his career, but certainly he's got less years than he would than McCoist had in front of him.
He's a professional, yeah.
seasoned professional. So Dessers isn't going to get any better. In fact, at 29, he's probably going to start to. He's probably about at his peak at 28, and at 29, you're maintaining it, but the curve is starting, isn't it? 30, 31, 32.
Yeah.
You're starting to go downhill a little bit because your physicality is diminished. Yeah. So there's a big difference. If it's a 21-year-old striker having the season that Dessers have, it's totally different. I'm totally different in how I address it, because you think to yourself, well, he'll improve as time goes on, as he learns. But I don't think that's going to be the case with someone of Dessers' experience and age. Yeah.
Well, some interesting points coming in. This one sort of caught my eye from Dave. He says, Dessers only needs one more goal to move ahead of Jelavic in goals for a full season, which is quite incredible. We all know how highly regarded Nikica Jelavic is held amongst the fan base, and Skylark could be an interesting point on Dessers as well. Says he's definitely a good squad option, but they'll have offers this summer. Similar to January, the sensible option is to cash in and reinvest. Of course, there were murmurings. There were clubs in Italy keen on prizing him away. It never materialised in the end. But yeah, I would expect a bit of noise around Cyriel Dessers in the summertime. And yeah, it's whether he stays at Rangers or not. But if he can add to his tally list, and I think he's going to surpass 20 goals between now and the end of the season, and let's hope they are big goals. A winner at Parkhead would do nicely. Let's move on. Also over the weekend, Jonny, I mean, just on the striker situation, I agree with you. I think Rangers need to bring in probably around 2 killers in the box in the summertime. Scott's Wilder raises a point. Miovski is a no-brainer, knows the league, scores goals, and will make the club at least double on what we pay out. Wouldn't be opposed to Bojan Miovski pitching up at Ibrox in the summer. Aberdeen will look for top dollar, right enough, but that's the sort of player Rangers should be targeting, is it not?
Absolutely. I would be really excited about Bojan Miovski at Rangers. I think he's a phenomenal talent. Just 24, remember, Derek? So, you know, he's got loads and loads to do in terms of developing and becoming a better player. He's quick. He's really, really quick. So he's a threat on the break, but he's also no slouch physically. He's not going to get bullied by anyone. He's athletic. You saw his goal against Livingston that was chopped off. The ball's in the air and he's doing a sort of acrobatic hitch kick to get the ball in the back of the net. He's composed. He's elegant. I just really, really like him. I think he would be the perfect signing. I like Shankland as well a lot. I've talked about Shankland, but Miovski is a young guy, and Shankland is, like Dessers, is coming towards the peak area of his career and maybe into that downslope a little bit. So if you could get Miovski, I think that would be a better signing. However, I don't think there's any doubt that Aberdeen are going to ask for top money for this guy.
Yes.
It'll depend on how much interest there is, Derek. I would not be surprised if Aberdeen are looking for £8 million for Miovski. I think it would be really, really difficult to get him. Now, listen, they can want 8 million, and if no one comes in with that, then obviously the price would go down. But Championship clubs, £8 million not a lot of money, and I would be surprised if there wasn't interest for that kind of area for him. I think Celtic like the look of him as well. Would they pay that? Not sure. But he's a really, really dangerous, really, really good player. Given all that, I think that Rangers should go for Lon Shankland in the summer. And I'm repeating myself, as I've said before about Dessers, I've said before about Shankland. But if you can't get to that 8 million figure, if that's too much, and I totally understand why that would be the case, or they felt that was just over the top. Shankland's there at 2 million quid or 2.5 million quid or whatever it would cost with a year left in his deal. I think the importance of having someone that you know will score you 25 goals in the Premiership is massive. And I think you need to be able to guarantee that you've got players that can perform week in, week out. I think Celtic have that to some extent, and Rangers have players that are there's quite a lot of question marks around their main players. I think if you went out and got someone like Miovski or Shankland, you've got guys who are you know will perform. There's no question marks about it. So that's why For me, those two are the most obvious ones to go and get. I don't think Shankland would cost a fortune. His contractual situation is known by everyone.
Yeah.
Miovski, I think, is the better player. He's a more complete player. He's a younger player. But then with that, there's a massive premium. And Rangers will only have so much budget, and they've got to be careful on how they use it. You can't really be going out and splashing £8 or £9 million on too many players if you're Rangers. It's not realistic, given the club's finances and the finances of any club in Scotland. You can maybe do it with one or two. We saw Ryan Kent, of course. I think he was about £7.5 million when he arrived. But that was quite a specific situation. I think Steven Gerrard really, really wanted Ryan Kent, and they pushed the boat out to make it happen. Whether or not they would do that, especially given that kind of money to Aberdeen, who, you know, are essentially one of the teams that could hurt you in the league, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think it's much more likely Miovski goes to the Championship.
No, that would be a record fee, I'm sure, between Scottish clubs if Rangers were to spend that sort of cash on someone from a fellow Scottish side. Listen, Bojan Miovski might want to depart as well. Aberdeen have had a dreadful season all in. He'll want to better himself, and I imagine he'll maybe looking for a new destination in the summertime. But you're right, there's a new TV deal down south, and clubs are flush with cash, especially in the Championship. So it would not surprise me if a team down south prize him away from Pittodrie. Steve-O, just off the back of what you're saying there, Jonny says, it's a choice between Miovski or Shankland. Who are you taking, considering a budget, sell-on potential, including Aberdeen wanting a % style of play? Question mark. Listen, I'd imagine Niels Coppin and Philippe Clement will be hard at work identifying players that they'll want playing for Rangers up front next season. Whether those two are in the discussion, it remains to be seen. I know that some were thinking Rangers might make a move for Shankland in the January window. He was never on the radar, as far as we're aware. Whether that changes in the summertime, I'm not too sure. But I'm like you, Jonny. I would like to see Lawrence Shankland pitch up at Rangers. I think he would contribute goals. He's someone I think the club have been lacking, a killer in front of goals. So he and another one I would like in the summertime. And whether he fits in with style of play, though, that's another question. Do you build a team around a guy like Lawrence Shankland? That is a question, but Hearts will be looking for a lot less than for Lawrence Shankland. Aberdeen will be for Bojan Miovski. And Rangers are going to have to get smart and intelligent with their cash in the summertime. Players will have to be moved on. They're going to have to try and bring in some transfer fees for departures. The out-of-contract players that will be departing, that frees up a lot of wages as well. But they're going to have to be smart with the cash in terms of player trading, Jonny.
Yeah, it's going to be... it's always going to be spinning multiple plates, isn't it, Derek? You've got to try and keep everyone up. So... Listen, Philippe Clement will have areas of the team that he'll want to improve. I don't think there's any doubt that midfield's going to be one of those areas. You think Ryan Jack's going to be coming out of there? John Lundstrom's probably going to be coming out of there, depending on if they agree a new deal or not. I think most people would agree that John Lundstrom's probably had his time, given the size of his salary, given what he'll want, given his age, etc., etc. So that's two really, really experienced guys. Let's be honest, Nico Raskin hasn't covered himself in glory since Philippe Clement arrived. Not that we've seen anyway. He's not been able to force himself in. So will he be wanting to stick around? He's at a stage in his career where he'll want to be getting minutes. He's highly thought of, and someone who I would imagine would want to be improving and making a name for himself and getting himself that move to Chelsea that he talked about. He'll only do that by playing. So that's an area that's going to take a bit of reconstruction, and a reconstruction, I think. You look at the centre-backs. Is that's going to be something that's going to be addressed? A reliable left-sided centre-back that can defend, I think, is one that Rangers absolutely need. Is there going to be a decision made on Goldson and Tavernier? There's been a lot of rumours about James Tavernier, about Saudi, about one last payday out there. Who knows if that will come true? I think certainly if you can get big money for James Tavernier, then you're obviously going to take it at his age. Even though he's been absolutely tremendous and remains tremendous for the club, I think, and I'll argue till I'm blue in the face about that with anyone. He's got his defensive frailties, but what Tavernier brings to the party is immense. Yeah, you've got a lot of work to do, I think, if you're Philippe Clement. There's a lot of areas where he's dragged that squad to where it is today. I mean, it's remarkable when you look at it and you break it down. I suppose, though, Derek, the one thing about Michael DeMille's summer transfer business there is going to be a fair bit of money coming back in.
Yes.
Sam Lammers' loan is probably one of the most brilliant loans that Rangers have executed. I mean, he's gone to the Eredivisie, a league that's better than the SPFL, top flight, and performed magnificently. They were in the relegation mire. Where are they now? I think they're 8th in the Eredivisie on the back of his form.
Yeah.
And he's been lighting up that league. Now, a player that lights up that league normally goes for £20 million. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that he's going to go for £20 million. But if he consistently can perform, then I don't think there's any reason why Rangers should be asking for less than the £3.5 million that they paid, for example. In fact, I think you'd probably be asking for more based on what his performances have been. There will be people looking at Sam Lammers and looking at what he's done there, looking at the amount of goals he's scored. He's hardly ever been played as a number 9 while he's been at Rangers. So he's, people look at that and say, well, if you actually play him at number 9, look at the goals he's getting you. He's got a history of performing reasonably well in the Eredivisie. I certainly think that where we would have been in the past, it would have been like, do you pay Sam Lammers off? Do you let him go for £1 million? None of that's happening now. That'll be the bare minimum. You'll be getting back what you spent. I think Dessers, for all, I don't personally rate Dessers as a player. I think people look at his performance in terms of the pure numbers since arriving in Scotland. I don't think there'll be a lack of people interested at the mark that Rangers paid. Maybe a little bit less because he's a year older. He's obviously performed in multiple leagues across the continent reasonably well over his career. He's done it in the Eredivisie. He's done it in Cyriel where he was okay at Cremonese, and there was interest from that neck of the woods, I think, when Rangers signed him. So when you start to think you're going to turn those over, if you turn over a couple other players in the squad, maybe you move on Hadji, you're starting to talking about bringing in, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 million. If the Rangers board give another 10 million, then you've maybe got 22, 23 million pounds for Clement to spend. And on top of that, you're talking about Ryan Jack and John Lundstrom leaving on a free transfer, Borna Barisic. That's a big chunk of wages, let me tell you. It's a big chunk of wages. He's going to have a bit of manoeuvring to do, but he's going to have space to do those manoeuvres, I think.
Yeah, some interesting points just off the back of that, just on Lundstrom. Ross McDonald says, Derek, you were screaming for a new contract for John Lundstrom. You changed your mind. I'm sure I did say actually I wouldn't be opposed to him signing a new deal. It would have to be a deal that was on substantially less than what he's currently on. I think that's where the impasse is at this moment in time. The player wants a set amount, the club are willing to pay a set amount, and there is no agreement as we sit here right now. But I think he has lost form of late. Whether they can recapture that between now and the end of the season, who knows? But I think the time may come if no agreement is reached for him to move on. I think he won't be short of offers. We have heard murmurings of Ipswich Town keeping tabs on the situation last week. We know Trabzonspor are keen on him as well. So I think he is likely probably to be moving on, although the manager is a big fan of him. He's one of his go-to men. He has said on record that he's hoping that he signs that new deal. Lundstrom himself says he loves it at Rangers, but again, it's all about the financials. Denzel with the point, he says, the question just on Lammers, why couldn't we get anything out of Lammers? He did say in a recent interview over there that he wasn't played in his natural position as a number 9 at Rangers. He's sort of been shoehorned around about that forward line as a number 10 and what have you. Would it have worked if he went up top and played as an out-and-out number 9, Johnny?
Well, listen, as much as I don't like Dessers, I always said, as a player, I always said that I liked Lammers. I liked the basics of his game as a footballer in terms of his touch, in terms of his size and his qualities, but he didn't translate at any time those basic footballing qualities into performance, Derek. We saw big moments. Lammers put one-on-one with Joe Hart. He skews it wide. There was that moment against Servette, Rangers 2-0 up. Lammers put through one-on-one with the keeper to make it 3-0 and kill the tie stone dead, and he puts it wide. There was another couple that have now escaped me because I've kind of put the Sam Lammers thing to the side of my mind. But there was 3 or 4 big moments like that in big games. And he just didn't work out for Rangers. He just looked like a guy who was lost. Ironically, when I've spoken to him, when I've sat down and talked to him, he's a big confident guy. He's very Dutch, no BS. Sam Lammers was not a guy that was that looked like he was lacking in belief in himself when I spoke to him, certainly. So I'm kind of not surprised that he's gone there. It's a league he knows well. He wasn't really given an opportunity. Would it have worked at Rangers as a number 9? I'm not sure, Derek. I'm not sure this is the club for Sam Lammers, to be honest. But I think he's entitled to say, well, I was never given a chance in my position, so how can you truly judge me? And I think that's also fair. But there's no doubt Sam Lammers, I mean, he's gone to Atalanta for 11 million quid for a reason. Michael Beale's signed him for a reason, and I think you could see that he is a football player. He did not impact games, and it's as simple as that. He did not impact games, and it looked to me like it was a mentality issue at Rangers. It was just too much pressure, too much intensity, and I think he might be better in a league like the Eredivisie that he knows and rebuild his career there.
Yeah, it's a style of football, I think, that suits him. I remember speaking to, I think it was a PSV commentator when Lammers initially signed for Rangers in the summer. He felt that he left PSV too early. It was during COVID when he went to Atalanta, and he felt he should have spent more time in Holland. But he's thriving over there. I don't think he'll be short of offers come at the summertime. A few other interesting points that I'm going to bring up. Point here from Blue Nose John, just on Cortez, says, do you think that Rangers will commit to buying Cortez in the summer? Of course, he's out injured at this moment in time. I've said before, Jonny, I've seen enough from him. No, Rangers have had a horrible injury record down the years, and hopefully this boy isn't in a long list of players that are spending more time on the treatment table than on the pitch. But I've seen enough. It depends what sort of fee RC Lawns are looking for. I think they're just looking to get their money back on what they paid Molinarios over there in Colombia for his services back in the summer, which I think was around 4 million euros, if I'm not mistaken. If a deal can be structured round about that fee, I'd be tempted to bring him in.
Yeah, I'd be tempted based on what I saw as well, but it depends on the level of his injury, to be honest, Eric. We just don't know how bad it is. It's a cruciate ligament, isn't it? It's a ligament injury. I'm not actually 100% sure. There's been a little bit of it's not been quite detailed exactly what the problem was. But these kind of injuries can impact a player, can impact your ability to twist and turn, etc. And some players come back and there's no change, and other players come back.
I'm sure it was a hamstring injury. I might be mistaken.
Maybe I'm wrong, right? Okay, so you just don't know how bad it is, and so to kind of be sure of the situation going forward in terms of buying him, you would have to know exactly how he was progressing. 4 games, 4 or 5 games before he was injured,
something like that.
Yeah. So it was certainly positive. He certainly looked good, but whether or not it would be enough to splash out that kind of money. Once again, Derek, it's the balancing situation, isn't it? You've got 4.5 million here, you've got 3 million there, you've got 4 million there. Before you know it, this money is adding up quickly and you've got no money to sort out other areas of the team. So, I think ultimately that's going to be something that the club will have to try and balance. And I really like the look of him. Maybe the best solution with Oscar Cortez would be to get him in for another year's loan. Maybe that's something that could be agreed.
If you had to choose, Jonny, if it was one or the other, Cortez or Sima, if Rangers could strike a deal, who are you picking there? I mean, we've seen more from Abdallah Sima.
Sima. I honestly really like Sima, Derek. I think he'd be a great signing for Rangers. My concern is with Sima is that going to be a huge fee? Is that even realistic? Brighton, they don't have to sell. They're under no pressure. They're swimming in money, aren't they? I think their last accounts, they posted something like a £120 million profit now. I know that they sold big players for big money on that, but so they really are able to stick to their valuation. And in terms of Sima, that might be 10 million, it might be 12 million. You just don't know what they're going to be looking for, but I think he's a really good player. He works his backside off. He defends with such intensity. He's a real goal threat. If you can get Sima, Derek, you've just got to go and get Sima. You really have to just go and get Sima. And I really think that as well with his age, you can punt him on in 2 or 3 years' time easily. and make some money on that, having him delivered really, really good quality over the period of time that he's at the club. This is a really important one to me. Finally, with Big Sima, Rangers have a winger that delivers numbers. And we've been talking about that for years, haven't we? Ryan Kent, really good player, but didn't score goals, didn't get in at the back post. Sima's someone that does all that. So, once you find one of those guys, it's difficult to find. You really want to make it work, but we just know that the fee could be a real problem. He only has a year left on his contract come the summer, but we all know that a deal could be broached and brokered easily with Brighton for an extension if they decide to do that. The ball is in their court. They're a Premier League club. They're not short of cash. They'll be able to offer huge wages if they wanted to. It really comes down to what Davy Weir over there thinks about Sima as a future Premier League player.
Yeah, hopefully he can do us a favour maybe in the summer, Davy. So if you're listening, I'm sure he tunes in every morning. Right, before we wrap up, just before I forget, we've got 2 brilliant offers on the website just now, folks. And we're not only that, we're giving away this brilliant Rangers jersey signed by Gaza and Ali McCoist. All you have to do to be in with a shout of winning this jersey is sign up to one of 2 offers we've got on the website just now. You can take a 6-month subscription for just £1, or you can take a year subscription for just £18. The 6-month subscription, after the 6 months, it goes up to $2.99 per month, which in itself is still an absolute bargain. Existing subscribers automatically entered into the draw for the jersey as well. Offer ends on the 29th of April, so time running out for that. All you have to do is head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. So there you go, folks. You want to get an absolutely fantastic prize that we're giving away with 2 of our subscription offers we've got on just now. Just a heads up for those of you that are members of the Rangers Review Extra channel on the YouTube, but I'll be on with Joshua a little later on this afternoon as we delve into more tactical insight off the back of Sunday's Scottish Cup semi-final win. Absolutely right, Colin. The famous Gaza jersey from the 8-in-a-row season, of course, sparks great memories. Don't make jerseys like that anymore, that's for sure. Right, that'll do us there. Huge thanks to Jonny, as ever, for joining us. Always good to have him on. And thank you to each and every one of you for supporting the channel and for interacting as ever. We'll speak to you again later on. Bye for now.